I've just had a drone job called off because, which you probably can't quite see on this camera, but it is kind of graying out with a high cirrus cloud, so not ideal for shooting for the drone. So I thought I would make a quick video because recently I spent way too much money upgrading my DJI's Inspire X3 camera and buying and upgrading to the X5 camera. And so here's my thoughts on whether I thought that was money well spent. Hi, I'm Grant and I've been flying drones now for a couple of years, and a large part of my work with my drone is actually shooting real estate videos. Recently I had the opportunity to upgrade my DJI Inspire's camera from its standard X3 camera to the X5 camera, and I also purchased the 12, 25 and 45mm lenses for the camera. But before I give you the pros and cons, this upgrade actually cost me almost $5,000 New Zealand. Or by the time I got the X5 mounting plate for the Inspire, the X5 camera, and I also bought the 3 lenses, being the 12, 25 and 45mm lenses. So after a couple of months of using the X5 camera on my drone, here's a couple of comparison shots. Now it's always quite tricky doing comparison shots because it's really hard, especially with a drone, to do exactly controlled or same or side-by-side type shots to make a fair comparison. So what I did is I just shot this all pretty much within the space of half an hour. I locked the exposure, the white balance and all the settings to identical settings for both cameras. Okay, so here's the pros and cons from my experience. First up, the ability to swap focal lengths or use different lenses with the camera now is fantastic. You can now get away from having that same wide angle shot that you see in a lot of drone photography or videography, and the ability to use the 12mm or the 25mm or the 45mm is fantastic, and it gives you more options in editing. Using the 12mm lens, which I have here on the X5 camera, that is a 35mm equivalent of a 24mm focal length, and I think that's actually a nicer looking shot or focal length for shooting real estate. Have a look at these two shots and sort of look at the verticals and you'll see what I mean. Also, having the ability of using this 25mm, you can bring in the background or scenery or compress your shot a bit, which is useful in some instances. Probably the biggest noticeable difference that I like about the X5 camera is the stills capability of the X5. It is a big jump up in quality, or the quality of the photos, from the X3 camera. It's probably a little bit hard to show here in the video, but when you have them on a monitor side by side, or you zoom in and do a bit of pixel peeping, it becomes quite evident. Okay, the cons, or the not such great things I've found about upgrading to the X5 camera. And the first one is, and it's kind of a big one for me, is that the video quality is disappointing with the X5 camera. And by disappointing, I mean it is not noticeably better. In fact, in some instances, I think it's less better or worse than the X3 camera. For example, shooting in normal 1920 by 1080 HD, I believe the X3 did a better job, and the X5 camera just doesn't cut it. I've had to shoot basically in 4K video and downscale it on a 1080 timeline when using the X5 camera to get the same quality that I was used to. Some of you that have been around for video for a long time may notice the quality, and I do see there is more of a cinematic or natural look to the X5's camera, but you actually have to run it at, or I have found, you have to run it at 4K to get that quality to stand out. In fact, I've got a job coming up shooting a mountain biking event, and I will, unless I want to change my focal length, I'm probably going to use the X3 camera for the video, because I have to deliver that footage in a 1080 format. Okay, the other con is that because the X5 is a heavier camera, your quadcopter or your Inspire is having to lift more weight, so your battery time is reduced. Another con is that the X5 is actually a lot more fiddly to use, and by that I mean you have to balance the gimbal for your different lenses that you use. You also have to focus your lenses manually. I mean, it is great to have manual focus, but you have to focus each lens every time you start and stop your quadcopter. And the last con that some of you may associate with is that now when you're flying your drone with the X5 camera, you have got a lot more money hanging in the air. So if something untoward happens, which I sure hope it doesn't, you stand to perhaps have bigger replacement costs. So in conclusion, I actually do really like the X5. It was a lot of money, but the ability now to change focal lengths when using my drone is fantastic. This also makes your life in the edit suite a lot better now that I can have a wide shot and perhaps a medium shot, or compressing the scenery behind a property or something that I am shooting. So has it been worth the extra money to upgrade from the X3 to the X5 camera? As in most things, it will depend on what you primarily shoot. So yes, I believe it has been worth the investment. It's a bit hit and miss. If I was just shooting video, then I would say no, it hasn't been worth the investment. However, because of what I primarily use this for, it has been a good investment, and I hope to be able to recoup my costs by having a competitive advantage over perhaps other people using stock standard drones. So those are my thoughts on the X3 versus the X5. Thanks for watching.